Welcome to Soul, Light, and Body. Today is such a beautiful day because you know what? We are here once again. And today we have such a beautiful topic. The topic today is There is Powerful Medicine in Your Hands. And we get such a wonderful guest today, Greg, and he is here to explain energy and how we can use our energy to heal ourselves. I hope that you continue to do your journaling, that you are writing at least three things down every day you wake up from your bed. You're writing three things down that you're grateful for. Because that first hour in the morning is very important for our lives. It's absolutely set the tone for our day. So we need to really check in with ourselves when we get up from our beds early in the morning. We really need to check in, do our journaling, be grateful. Be grateful for what you have. Because many times we just get up from our beds and we just get on the go right away. We don't find that time to do that check-in, to do that pause, see how our lives are going. It is very important for us to start that day right.
And I start my day with this following statement. Something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. It's
Beautiful.
it's just like the placebo effect. You set the expectation out there and let it go. Nothing
Absolutely
else to
right.
do with it. But that's just a 5 second idea that can become a habit that can change your life potentially.
Absolutely, Greg. I totally agree with you. And Greg is going to also help us to understand how our body's electrical fields directly impacts the quality of our lives. He's going to really dive deep into our body system, how it normally functions, the heart, whatever we put inside our thoughts. He's going to really take walk us through each one of these systems and help us to understand how we can live a fulfilled life. He's going to help us to understand how we can really change our lifestyle, the foods that we should eat, how we should eat. He's going to really dive deep today and to help us to really understand the journey that we should really be walking to live a fulfilled life. I'm Karen Pascal, holistic health and wellness coach, and a co-author of two ebooks with my sister Joe Williams. We also are the producers of this show, Soul, Light, and Body. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will never miss none of these juicy episodes. So I will now hand you over to Miss Joan Williams. Joan, take the mic.
Thank you so much. Great opening as always.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We're so happy to have you here joining us. We know you could have been doing different things, but thank you for taking a special time to join us, to stay with us within this hour, where we're going to dive very deep, talk great about energy. And our guest tonight is so amazing. I know we always say all of our guests are amazing, but they are because they bring something to the space that we all can learn and grow from and expand in our whichever area we are in our life. So, how was your week? How was your weekend? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic.
That's good. We are doing fantastic too, and the audience could say how they're doing as well. And we know that in life that there are so many challenges we all go through in different stages. Because when as one show we have done where we talk about the different phases of life when we're 20s, what we go through towards 40s, so whichever space you're in, and the value that you bring to that space when you are in that stage. But then sometimes as we become more evolved and mature, then we have to look at life with a very keen eye from a different perspective and look what really matters. What are we contributing to ourselves that really matter? What are we filling ourselves with? What are we feeding ourselves with? Are we walking? Are we able to walk in the level of excellence and able to display that on a daily basis? Or are we working in our greatness? Are we able to show ourselves love and compassion? Because you know what we always say on Soul Light and Body? You are special. You are unique. You're one of a kind. You're worthy. So show yourself that love. Show yourself that compassion. Show yourself that grace, regardless whatever state you're in. Whatever state that you're in, try to able to look yourself in the mirror and harness that. Yes, we know that life is very challenging sometimes, but remind yourself because you're strong. You even are stronger than you think. So
and there are a lot of ways to access what you're talking about, very effortlessly, not complicated, using human touch on yourself or with others. We know that it's powerful to get a great big hug from somebody you love. That's a very powerful demonstration of the shifting of what they call electrons that create the electrical currents in our bodies. It's a phenomenal thing that we don't really focus on because you don't make a lot of money doing that. You know, there's not a lot of pharmaceuticals advertising the power of touch. We're up against a lot of competition, but the power of touch is phenomenal. It's an essential part of our happiness and well-being. We all know that. Look, if you look at the history of humans, they came out of being four-legged creatures. And when they got the power to use their hands, game changed. Everything changed. You can climb up a mountain with your fingertips. Mm-hmm. They're that strong. Or you can play a phenomenal concerto on the piano. They're that docile. They're that dexterous. They're that incredibly capable. So what happens when you do something like what I'm about to ask everybody to do? I don't want you to take notes. I want you to put your right hand up in front of you and your left hand to the side. And I want you to take that right hand and grab one of your fingers on your left hand. Get a good solid contact like this. Just to grab a finger, okay? And just hold on to it. We don't have to focus and do anything special. We're just holding on to a finger, and we're going to come back to why we're doing that. But I just want you to feel what that's like and see what happens, because that's how I got into this whole gig 20-something years ago. Somebody told me to hold on to my thumb to help me with a digestive problem that plagued me for 15 years of my life. And holding on to my thumb like you're holding on to a finger changed my life in 2 days. And that kind of got my attention. It really shook me up. And it did something that made me curious about what the heck is going on. Since that time, I've learned a lot of different ways to use the power of energy from my hands to help treat people by light touch, or actually also by no touch. How can you change people's health and physiology by just laying them on a table and having light touch or no touch action create these physiological changes and improve somebody's well-being and health? That's why I'm here, is because it's real. I can hold my fingers, and I do it every day. I do a number of other things that are in my 2 books, my free ebooks that we'll talk about as we go along. But these ebooks have got suggestions on things that you can start out doing. It's an exploration. It's something that you should have fun at. It's something that you should explore, because the fingers have such an immense amount of energy flowing through them. And it's demonstrated by the number of cell receptors nerve sensors that are in your fingertips and throughout your hand. It's phenomenal how many receptors there are. And what that means is that they're creating these electrical signals that go throughout your body. And you can transfer this energy, as you know, with a hug. You know, somebody can either give you energy or they can pull it from you. we call that stealing or donating electrons. It's electricity. Okay, it's not the same electricity that you get out of your electrical circuit. It's direct current electricity. And I go into some aspects of this in my books. And it's something that people need to understand, that we are primarily electrical beings. First and foremost, an electrical activity has to occur before a chemical or mechanical activity or a brain activity occurs in your life. But it doesn't get talked about because the pharmaceuticals and Western medicine doesn't put the priority on it. But what Eastern medicine has talked about this for millennia, and acupuncture is very well known, but acupuncture with your hands, acupressure, is also something that's very effective. And we've gotten to the point where we've been able to create a number of different treatment modalities that access these different kinds of sensitivities through touch.
Wow. That's amazing.
We need to ask everybody, how many people have you consciously touched in the last week?
Sure.
You know, how many times have you taken advantage of that possibility? And have you used your hands at all in terms of ever thinking that you could lay your hands on a sore knee or a bruise or something like that? We have to ask ourselves, well, why wouldn't we even think of doing something like that? It's common sense. The body is a magical phenomenon, and we don't treat it as such. We think that we can take a pill or go to a doctor and that's it. No, the body knows how to go to balance, just like it knows how to tell you what finger to hold and what happens with that. So everybody's been holding their finger for a few minutes, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation, a simple explanation of why you might have chosen that finger. Okay, as I told you, I held my thumb when I first got into this, and my thumb also involves the stomach and the spleen energies or meridians that flow throughout the body. So just by holding on to my thumb with a good solid contact, we also call that jumper cabling, just like your jumper cable a car battery. You're plugging into your electrical circuits. Now, you got worry also associated with your thumb energy. It's not going to necessarily take worry away, but it's going to help you facilitate dealing with worry. And we all seem to worry a little bit. Now, here's your fair finger, your index finger. And it also is associated with your kidney and bladder energies. So by holding that finger, if you have a kidney or bladder issue, it can change the way things flow in and through your body. Here's your anger finger. Oh, guess what? Oh, look at that. That's your anger finger. Go think about that, huh? Here, holding your anger finger, it's not going to make anger go away, but it's also going to help your liver and gallbladder issues, okay? And these are energies that flow throughout the body, intermix, and they get blocked, they get disrupted. But this is a simple way of facilitating the flow or increasing the flow of energy through these circuits that support these organs. Here's your lung and your large intestine. That's your ring finger. Holding on to that also has a lot to do with grief. So it's not going to make grief go away, but if you're grieving, you know, here's something that you can try, experiment with, play with it, and see what happens. Last but not least is a little finger, and that's for your heart and small intestine. And this is also associated with the emotion of trying to, being tensed up before something happened, okay? Those are just food for thought. These are things that are explained in more detail in my books. So you can check them out. They're free ebooks. And you can go from there with this one thing. There's a number of other different suggestions on what kind of things you can touch on your body. There's a way to do what we call the main central. This is another technique that's explained in the books. You can try and experiment with that. I have some websites that have got innumerable number of ways to play with how to use touch and your hands to facilitate your wellness, to you tap into the genius capabilities of your body, because they're there. They're just lying dormant until you engage them. And there's a multitude of ways to engage them.
Truly amazing. And thank you for giving us that really great connection. We know that you're an experienced meditator and also medicine practitioner, and you also got your Georgetown University, which help you to complete these 2 ebooks, which is truly amazing. If you haven't got a chance to, the audience, if you haven't got a chance to download, make sure you download great books, because they're truly amazing and they're truly a game changer. Now, Greg, the question for me to you tonight, I'm speaking from an audience perspective. How we're talking about energy, you're talking about the fingers, and do one have to be in a state of mind to really try to understand, how do I start this process to help myself not only to live but thrive?
Here's a way for you to simply start to engage that relaxation response, because relaxation is the key to having your body take over and use its individual genius capabilities. When it's stressed, it's not able to really tap into how to heal itself and to regenerate. So just holding a finger, holding your worry finger, can be very calming. So that's one of the ways to deal with it, is to hold the fingers, okay? Now, since you hopefully still are holding your finger, okay, let's switch to something else that is a way for you to kind of jumpstart and go right into a relaxation response. I'm going to ask everybody to hold their index finger and their thumb and make a circle out of it. And then take that middle finger, and guess what? We're going to dive that middle finger, both of them, into your belly button. Okay? Not something you probably had somebody suggest to you the other day, but we're going to try this. And what we're doing is just engaging this connection. We're plugging into the electrical energy in your body by having that middle finger diving into your belly button. And we're going to just allow that to happen while we talk about some other things, because everybody needs to get connected to these ideas. And usually it has to be something that you experience. Okay. So one of the most phenomenal things that I experienced in my energy medicine practitioner days is having a client in a coma in the hospital with her whole family there saying goodbye to her, because they thought that she was definitely, and the doctors thought that she was in her last hours. I was invited to go there, and I asked her daughter if I could touch her. And so I went and touched her at the base of her head on both sides. It's a points that I could feel what kind of energy was going on. And I could feel it. And I wanted to stand up and say to everybody, look, she's not ready to die. She's not going to die. We're going to do a treatment on her. But I didn't say a word. So I asked the daughter to let me come and see her the next day, and to have someone with her for the next 24 hours after I gave her a treatment to get her out of the coma. Well, a year later, I was at a snowball stand. Maybe you guys don't know what a snowball is, but if you're from Louisiana, you relish a snowball. It's an ice drink that you get in the middle of the summer. But I was at a snowball stand, and here she comes up to me and gives me the biggest hug in the world. And it was like, whoa, that made my year. I hadn't seen her, but she came out of the coma. Wow. So those are the kind of things that propel you. Those are the kind of things that really make you, whoa, this is the right road I'm on. I need to keep exploring all of these ways to work with people's energy. And it was simply touching different points on her body. It's called Jinshin Jitsu, was the therapy I was working with primarily. But it was one of those, breakout moments. And that's what everybody needs to get them to shift out of thinking that they can think through their illness or mishaps or whatever. But when we just kind of kick back and let the body do itself by holding a finger or touching different points in the body, then all kinds of things happen. And one of the biggest things is that you're trusting. you're putting a lot of trust in the body to know how to deal with this or that. And it's something that's way beyond. We've heard of remissions, okay? Spontaneous remissions. It's all over. You can go Google that and find out there's tens of thousands of these spontaneous remissions that people had certain illnesses, serious ones, and they came out. And how did that happen? You know, they don't really know, but it can happen. So we all need to be open to these kind of things. And it's how do we get to where we are doing that, being open to it.
Right.
Yes. Paula de Souza is asking a question.
Hi, Paula.
She said, hi, Paula. I would love to know the correlation or difference between Reiki energy and what you're explaining.
I don't know Reiki. I've heard of it. I've met people that do it. I've never done it myself. So I assume that there's some similarities here. We're all working on energy. We're working on the fact that you don't have to touch somebody to have an impact on their body or their physiology or their well-being. They have shown and they being the Heart Math Institute has done studies that demonstrate that if you're within 10 feet of another person that you're engaging with, your heart energy is interacting with their brave wave frequencies. So we're just getting around to being able to demonstrate that, you know, you can do all of these things with people and project your energy. Sometimes it's just touch, but it's also can be just from what they call your auric field, okay? And how that can change things. There's ways to work with somebody's auric field, cleaning it, clearing it out. And we work with a crystal and we work with a spray to clean the crystal off so that we can clean more energy through this auric field that's right off the body. And, you know, it's one of the most amazing things after you learn how to do it, that you can feel somebody's auric field that may be 3, 4, 5 inches off their body. And after you do this, literally raking the energy off and through their body, you got the auric field coming out 1 or 2 or 3 feet. You know, stuff like that is just amazing. So it's the whole world of energy and Reiki, Jinshin Jitsu, cranial sacral therapy, pranic healing. There are all these different modalities that are out there, and people are generating certain type of energetic relationships with people that can be very powerful and dynamic.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And the whole concept is the energy.
The concept is there's energy and it's electrical. Okay. So what happens is that there's a transfer of what they call electrons. Every cell in your body has this electrical impulse that it generates, and either you're getting donated electrons from the world around you, whether or not you eat raw fruits and vegetables, or you're eating food that's already been heavily processed. Heavily processed food is pulling energy out of you. Raw food is clearly something that's electrically charging. We have it. You can go on the internet and look at images of potatoes lighting up a light bulb. It's that simple in so many ways. That is energy. Okay, that's lighting up this light bulb. It's a natural direct current energy. And when you ingest these kinds of energies, it's going to make a big difference. We're getting better and better at discussing this whole issue. It's a plague, really, about what processed food is doing to us. And there's an interesting article that just came out in the Washington Post. And I want to say this to the audience. It's called Why Many Ultra-Processed Foods Are Unhealthy. Why Many Ultra-Processed Foods Are Unhealthy. And it's a Washington Post article. And it's online. And it just makes so much sense about what happens in detail to something that's really essentially pre-digested that you're going to take into your body. And it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, those kind of things are coming out, and we need to understand.
Right, right. It is so amazing. And you were in the process before was sharing stories of your experience and your patients. And there was one story that you shared with us with a woman who came into your clinic or your practice with her ankle. Can you share that with the audience as well?
Yeah, well, I've had a number of people that have ankle or joint problems, knee problems, and they'll come in and I'll show them a pressure point. It's essentially a little bit different than some of the treatment modalities like Jin Shin Jitsu, which is a light pressure. Okay. But in this pressure point therapy, you work on a point on your right elbow. Now, here's part of what goes on in my world. People go, okay, you want me to push a point on my right elbow, but my ankle is on my left side. And I go, well, this is for all of ligaments and tendons in your whole body. This will harmonize and balance out the energies that support ligaments and tendons in the whole body. And obviously, I get a little bit of skepticism here. So I go and I show them, I said, well, if I show you that it's tender there, maybe that will give me some credence about what I'm talking about. So I'll show them, and I'll have them point on the most tender spot on that right elbow and do it for 3 minutes, 3 times a day. And on a 1 to 10 point scale of pain, go to a 6 or 7, not too light, not too hard. And they'll come back to me and be amazed. In fact, I've had people say, I don't even want to talk about it. It's gone. Like they're just so out of their frame of reference that they don't know how to handle that. So, it's one of these things. How could that possibly be?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a phenomenal thing that I've used. I can't tell you how many people I've used it with that had set up an appointment with me to come and see me, but I showed this to them and they called up and said, I don't need to see you. Why should I come? It's gone, But then I tell them, this is a weak link. Maybe you need to watch out and see if it gets tender in the next month and treat it. And I also emphasize to them that it's something that you do with momentum. You don't just do it 3 days, 3 times a day for 3 minutes. You have to do it consistently over a period of time. Because if you do it 2 days in a row and not the third day, you're back at the first day kind of thing. So those kind of things are very, very interesting. And that's from a woman named Hannah Kroeger, Kroeger, which was a blessing to the universe by coming here on Earth, because she had so many different insights into what it is that you can do to heal yourself. So
Wow.
it's one of those things that you come across these people and wow, it's like, okay, what a great reference. So there's all these different kinds of people that have shown up and providing all these different insights. But that's a real powerful one.
That's absolutely amazing. That's really amazing, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg, can you explain why stretching is so important to
Yeah.
increasing the flow of your electrical energy?
Yes. Well, as with touch, stretching is one of those things that can really relax you, and it can really melt away tension. We know this, okay? Go to a yoga class and see how powerful that is. After 45 minutes or whatever, you just feel different, and you don't have to go and stretch real hard and push. No, it's just a matter of just letting the body ease out some of the tension. And what happens is that we don't normally get schooled in something called the connective tissue. The connective tissue is this blanket that covers everything in a matrix from head to toe. It wraps around every organ, it wraps around every bone and muscle in the body. And this is what they call a liquid crystalline structure, meaning that liquid crystallinity facilitates the flow of electrical signals through the body that I've talked about that needs to occur before chemical things and mechanical things happen in the body. So this connective tissue is extremely important to take care of, just as important as touch or the food you eat. And we don't normally get that perspective. And, when you're, out of shape or you have some trauma, that's the first thing that happens. You don't move as much, and you need to go and watch something on the internet called the fuzz speech, F-U-Z-Z speech. It's a great, entertaining little video, but it shows people, and now hopefully people are still in their belly button, but this speech shows people how they can really understand what happens when you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning and you're not as loose as you were, because that fuzz tends to meld together. And if you don't break it up and you get a problem with your shoulder and you don't move that shoulder for 3 days, guess what? That fuzz, the connective tissue, really gets to be really problematic and really gets to be unable to flow electricity. And that is a big, big issue. And we need to get into that mindset of what facilitates our electrical flow of energy. And this is one of the big things. So when was the last time anybody's consciously stretched? Do you do that every day? Do you do it even for a minute or two? Do you do it before you go to bed or before you get out of bed? Is it as important as writing, as you talked about earlier, before you get out of bed?
Yeah.
Stretching is really, really critical, and it helps so many things in so many ways that we just aren't used to talking about it like that. And
Right.
I also need to speak to one of the misunderstandings about stretching is that when you come and you start to stretch something and you get to a wall and you just can't go any farther, you don't try and push on that. You try and move around it, up and down, left and right, over, under. You kind of telescope it, and we don't push, because that binds up the connective tissue. And we don't want to bind up the connective tissue, because that's the conduit. That's the communication network for all of your electrical energy flowing in and through your body.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it really helps us to understand how important the energy in our bodies.
It has to flow. It has to
Flow.
It has to, we don't want to create resistance. When you think about it, okay, this is like the perfect example of what resistance is all about. When you put your hand or your attitude or whatever about something in your life or a situation in your life, that is resistance to what is. Okay. And that's just as powerful as not doing any of the other things that we talked about in terms of exciting the electrical flow of energy, exciting it or increasing it or letting it go without resistance. So we want to pay attention to these kinds of subtle but yet very powerful dynamics about things that occur in our life that get in the way of the frequencies, vibrations, electrical energy, whatever you want to call it. But it's real, and it's a powerful thing to engage. And we're so lucky to be in a time when this information is coming out. And it's something that hopefully everybody will get a little bit more in tune with.
Yeah, absolutely right, Greg. You're absolutely right. Let's talk about the feeling of abundance, love, care, and compassion.
Well, it's just one of those things that, you can get to those points fairly easily, but how do you sustain them?
True.
How do you keep that going? Okay.
True.
And it's a habit in many ways. It's creating habits of how do you pull the energy in your body to make it feel like, wow, I do feel love and I do feel this connection with people. In my second book, The Energy to Thrive, I go into extensively discuss our world as an electrically interactive and superconductive world. There are so many great scientific studies out there that explain how we are connected. And it's something that's very, very powerful. And it goes from the placebo effect to something called quantum entanglement that's real. And they got science to back that up, and blows everybody's mind once they start to understand what entanglement means. And, you know, when you start to look at everybody and understand that, well, we are totally interconnected, and not just by DNA, which is a phenomenal aspect of it, but, you know, we are connected so that how you feel impacts the way I feel and vice versa. And we have to live in that kind of world these days, because there's a lot of people out there projecting some pretty negative stuff, and you need to be aware of it. You not necessarily worry about it. You need to be in the present moment to be able to be aware of it, and not worrying about it, and not pretensing about it, or be angry about it with your middle finger, remember, or be grieving about something. You know, we want to adjust and adapt to all these different kinds of energetic flows that are going in our life. The body is amazingly complex, and it's interacting with all these dynamics that we've been talking about, and it's got to adjust and adapt continually. So when you start to maybe hold all 10 of your fingers for 2 minutes at a time, once a day or twice a day or whatever, see what happens. You know, are you balancing everything out? You know, because there's a lot of different energies, and this is not hocus pocus. I mean, meridians, these channels of electrical energy, are being demonstrated scientifically now. So what they've been talking about in Eastern medicine for millennia is becoming scientifically demonstrated. So we're not talking about hocus pocus, and we're talking about taking small steps, understanding that there's a lot of different YouTube videos out there. Oh boy, our dog wants to get involved here.
That's his level of energy.
Yeah, there you go. He wants to shout it out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing that you took us through on this journey and helping us to understand how we can really unblock. But we have to have a level of capacity to have that understanding that for our well-being and for us to thrive and for us to maintain that alignment with ourselves, with our level of energy, we understand clearly how it works.
We have to understand, but let's not get lost in this mental understanding. We can experience, okay? Holding your fingers, putting your middle finger and your other two fingers in a circle, okay? And putting them into your belly button. I don't know, how do people feel about that? Have you felt some relaxation?
Yeah.
This little exercise goes and connects with your vagus nerve. Now, I live in a different kind of vagus, VEGS. Now, we're talking about the VAGUS. The vagus nerve is this very, very powerful dimension of us, and it's a very large nerve in the body. But once you chill it out, mellow it out, plug into it, however you want to call it, and engage it like this, it can change things. It can change your awareness to say, oh, wow, I can just, chill out from this situation or that person or whatever. I don't have to be a victim to it. I can be really here taking a proactive stance here and dealing with these kind of things in a very proactive way. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. Everybody's not going to get that wonderful, phenomenal glow that I got from changing my digestive process way back when. But, it's something that you take a little bit at a time, and you create some good habits from it.
Yeah. A little bit at a time.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
You know, every day, if we make that conscious decision to do it continuously,
Yep.
we're able to experience that change in our lives.
Yep. And, obviously eating is a big part of it,
Yeah.
because there's not only can that potato light up a light bulb, but food has a pH value. Okay. So when you have a cup of coffee, okay, its pH value is hundreds of times less than a good apple. Okay. So what the body has to do is has to compensate for that low pH level of the coffee to bring it back to a alkaline base, which is 7.34. Okay. So these are numbers. They're explained in my books. And it's something that we don't really get talked to about, that food has an electrical value. And we need to pay attention to that if we're going to have a surplus of electricity flowing in and through our body, unrestricted.
Right.
It's
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I could talk about this forever and ever, but these are things that people need to be engaged in themselves. We can tell people certain things, but until they go and start looking things up, doing some little bit of homework here, experimenting with this, and trying to create this kind of habit in that area, it's not going to really change things. So we can overwhelm people with all of the data and the scientific analysis and whatnot. It's just one of these things that you have to almost just feel your way into these things.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say that I know you touched early in the conversation and the discussion about processed food and what it does. Can you go a little bit more in depth of what does processed food do for us? What happens to utilize?
It's dead food. It's taking they shot it and pulled the electricity out of it. It's that, and now your body has to adjust to how to compensate for that low pH that is coming into your body. Your body has to literally balance itself out. And there's a lot of information that's not really clearly understood or known about how the body does that, but they do believe that the body does whatever it can to steal from this and steal from that to get to that higher level of alkalinity, so that your fresh fruits and vegetables, raw fruits and vegetables, are at a good quality high pH. And all the other foods will take the whole pH level down, and how the body compensates and gets back up without having fresh fruits and vegetables is a mystery. But there's a million ways that it can rob you of certain energies, and that's not really a healthy thing to have happen. But you can know. I mean, if you go on a diet, fat, sick, and nearly dead. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead is one of the most inspirational YouTube videos about a guy who did nothing but use a blender and put fruits and vegetables in it for 30 days, and what he went through the transformation. Now, I'm saying if you go and do that for a week and then you go back to your junk food, whoa, or you go back to a cola, you're going to feel the punch. You're going to feel,
Yes.
Oh, wow, I've been doing this and not realizing the impact on my body, because you've never tested it out. And it's not necessarily easy to do that, but that's one of the simple ways you can deal with it.
Thank you for
Yeah. Yeah. It is so important that we really focus on what we are putting into our bodies.
Yeah.
Because
It's not-
whatever you put in, that is what you're going to get out.
I mean, there are books that have been written about how the processed food industry, they are so phenomenally capable of making you addicted. They know how to mix the salt and the fat and just make it really something that, oh my gosh, that is so good. And hey, you get lost in that world. And we see it every day. We see people walking down the street, whether or not they're flexible or not. You can tell what kind of posture they are having, what kind of posture they're maintaining. You know, did they go to a yoga class in the last month, or even stretched on their own by themselves? You can tell. And it's just one of those things that their energy is being displayed by their physiology.
Right.
It's not that complicated. It's something that's very well understood, as long as you just take the time to watch, pay attention to it.
Yes.
Yes. Noticeable. Yes, it is.
You mentioned in one of your ebooks, feelings of frustration and resistance creates incoherent heart waves frequencies. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, they're talking about how literally you can go into a lab and hold 2 vials of containers that have your DNA in it, okay? And you can have thoughts that are negative, or just, really something that you don't want to think about, and have those thoughts. And then they can analyze the DNA and see that it's literally been damaged. And then you can take that same DNA and put it in your hands in the test tubes and think positive, happy thoughts, loving, kind thoughts, gratitude and whatnot. And the DNA restores itself. Now, this is not hocus pocus. This is something that, they can show, and this is something that comes from your heart. Okay. Your emotional center is 5,000 times greater electromagnetically than your brain. Now, how many people know that? I mean, you can think in and from your heart. It's just a matter of practice. It's just a matter of getting out of your head. When you're laying down, maybe you need to put your hand over your heart to get your focus onto your heart, or maybe you need to imagine yourself coming out of your head into your throat and then into this area of your chest where your heart is. There's a lot of different scenarios on how to think in and through your heart. You can go online or ask that AI guy, and we can get some ideas on how to do that. But it's real. We don't have to be these thinkers, okay, from the head in between your ears. We can change the way we work at it, because this is the way to access your most powerful electrical source of energy, your heart. And it's bingo. There it is. So, that's something that people can hopefully get their heads around it, and, start thinking and exploring and just testing it out. What does it feel like when you put both hands over your heart? In one of my books, I talk about putting your right hand open. It opens your heart. When your right hand is over your left hand and you place them on top of your heart, that opens the energy of the heart. When you open the energy of your heart, you're not so closed up. I'm going to show you something. Hopefully I can show it to you. When you start to grab, you see a lot of people do this, okay? They're shut down. They're just holding their energy in. But then having somebody hold their elbows like this, if you can see me with the elbows being held by both, that's a way to generate another level of power in and through your body. We call it in Jinshin Jitsu the 19s, but it's a powerful way to connect an openness connection with all of your energy frequencies flowing in and through your body. Again, try it out. See what it feels like. Maybe you'll feel like a pulsing sensation. Maybe you'll feel like there's certain types of textures that feel different than today than it did yesterday. It's an exploration. It's something that you need to just challenge yourself to okay, I'm going to experiment with this guy and see what happens here. Because there's a lot of information about what's going on in your hands. We didn't have the slide, but you can go online and go to Google Images and put in 1 square inch of a fingertip. And it'll show you how many different sensors, nerve endings there are in 1 square inch of your fingertip. It's phenomenal. And that's what you're connecting with. You're connecting all of these sensors to a certain point on your body, your elbows, and it can create a lot of different powerful messages and open up resistance for the flow of your electrical energy.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that, Greg.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for helping us to become more in tune with our bodies and our energy and the touch points. And it's just amazing what we can do just by ourselves, just by following that and be consistent in the space of doing that.
Yep. So, hey, hopefully this is a message that will get more and more clearly expressed and delivered to a lot more people. And that's why I'm been having my ebooks for free, okay, and by both of my books, because the more people that can possibly read those books, the more they'll share it, the more they'll give me reviews on Amazon and other channels, so that more and more people will see, oh, this is really stuff. This is good stuff, so that we can all get along and move down the road here. Because, hey, all you have to do is watch the nightly news once in a while and know that we need some help here, folks. Things need to move on. The clock needs to change its direction. So it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's powerful stuff, Greg. It is powerful stuff. And to access Greg free ebooks, in the comments, you will see the links to get Greg two free ebooks. How lucky you are to get Greg 2 free ebooks, and there are so much stuff that you can learn in those ebooks.
And people need to interact with me. I have my email addresses. If you think something needs to be more completely explained, or you don't like one thing or another, let me know. Let's have a conversation.
Nice.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's very generous of you to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, this is what needs to happen, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
You said in your book also, thoughts attract and create our experiences. Can you touch a little bit on that? Because a lot of times, a lot of people have so many negative thoughts.
I know. But as I said, my mantra in the first thing in the morning, something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. That's a start. Okay. You have to start somewhere and know that, there's a phenomenal amount about the placebo, and placebos are nothing but mental expectations, and it's well documented, and it will blow your mind. There's a lot of it in my books, and you got to understand that these are very, very powerful things, expectations, and they're just something that you create primarily from a habit and being aware of it. I'm a big fan of meditation, and I think it's a wonderful thing to stop at least once a day for however many minutes you can, and just be quiet with yourself and your surroundings and let things flow. There's innumerable ways to learn how to meditate or practice it, and it's part of being relaxed and letting the tension go, so that there's less resistance to the flow of energy in and through your life. When things are flowing, you're much more apt to be very, very powerfully focused on gratitude and love. So it's not complicated, is it?
No, it's not. It's not complicated. We make it complicated, but it's not complicated. It's not. It's very straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
because when we tap into these fields and to these energy frequencies, great things happen in our lives. We start to connect with people. Just like how you have the thoughts that are negative, you start to connect with negative people.
Yep.
And just like how you have the thoughts of positive, you connect with positivity. You stay with positive people. So the
Yep.
energy field is always flowing. So it all depends on what energy field you're tapping into to
Right.
allow things to start to change in your life. It's
And
very
then
important.
you go back to what we were talking about initially. Just holding a finger can help to balance all of these dynamics that are going on in and around your life every day. And but the body has got to adjust, and sometimes it needs a little bit of help by touching yourself in certain places, and it can create phenomenal results.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
becomes magical.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is absolutely amazing, Greg. You know, you have to be a returning guest.
Yes. Okay.
Because there's so many other things that we really want to touch on, you know, for you to really help the audience to understand how powerful we are.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. If I could just, and I need to do this. There's a lot of things I will be doing, but some of these things that you can do, not even touching the body, and these are treatment modalities that are taught around the world. And I can go into somebody, I can put my hand above somebody's bladder, and it will be out of sync. It will be moving extremely in an extreme fashion in one direction and not the other direction. And within 30 seconds, I can correct that. So now has an even flow medially and laterally. Stuff like that. It's just incredible. And there's a lot of those kinds of things that people can explore and get help from and do themselves. So it's not real complicated.
Yeah.
Very
We have the power. The power is in our hands.
Yes. Yes. And it's the phenomenal power in our hands. Hey, it's the first thing that we get when we are in the womb. The first sense is touch.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a real big deal. Without it, we're a different being.
We are.
Yes, we are. We are. We are.
So
if we could only tap into that, if we could only tap.
Well, we can. So start holding your finger, and maybe you need to change what finger you want to hold after I went through all of the fingers. Go for that belly button connection, see how that works. Read my books and go and look at the tens of other ways to do this.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's powerful. And Greg, we will ask you to return to help continue to help the audience to understand more about ourselves. This is like a classroom.
Yep.
This is like a classroom, and you're really helping us to understand more about ourselves, how we can tap into our energy and how we can heal our bodies, how we can really understand the frequencies, how we can really lift our vibration. So, it is very important for us to really make that change, how we live our lives daily. The foods that we are eating, pay attention to the foods that we are consuming, what it's really doing with our bodies, our energy fields. So it is so important.
Yep.
It is so important. And to the audience, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this hour. And keep on the lookout, because we will be bringing back Greg once again for him to get more deeper for us. And his 2 ebooks is in the comments, and you can download his 2 ebooks and be ready with your questions when we bring him on back again, that you could ask him questions and he will be able to answer your questions. Joan?
Yeah, thank you so much, Greg, for everything you've taught us tonight, because this is our entry point. We're going to have you come back and enlighten us.
Yeah, thank you for having
me. So we do appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate you taking the time and coming here with us today. We really appreciate it, because you really help us to understand more in depth about our bodies and how we can really use the energy that is flowing through us to heal ourselves.
Yep.
Yep.
It's flowing.
It's
It is.
flowing.
It's and to the audience, we thank you so much for sticking with us and spending your time with us, and also continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're so grateful for all the information that you give us, our feedback with our digital magazine and our print magazine. So stay tuned, because we have a lot of projects we're working on, because we're trying to be keeping you in mind every time we think about a project we're working on, so we can bring you the best and that you can continue to excellent self. Thank you.
Right. Absolutely. So that you could continue to live that true essential life. Yes. So thank you guys so much for taking the time once again and joining us today. And Greg, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today and really giving us value and helping us to understand there is powerful medicine in our hands.
Yes, thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And audience, don't forget, go download Greg 2 ebooks, and you will learn so much from those ebooks. So much information is in those 2 ebooks. And happy 4th of July to
Yes.
all of you. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Stay safe. Be blessed.
And let's stay connected.
Yes. Bye-bye. Thank you guys
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye-bye.